came home with tears in his eyes. Not the kind you shed over a breakup, or a lost game, or even the sting of a parent's disapproval. No, these were the quiet, humiliated tears of a 22-year-old man who had just learned, painfully and publicly, that the world does not bend to your habits, and that consequences, when they finally show up, don't knock gently. He walked through the door, slumped shoulders, voice cracking, and recounted the story to his mother. And as I stood nearby, just listening, I couldn't help myself. I laughed. Not a cruel laugh, not a mocking one, but a dry, weary laugh. The kind that escapes when a lesson you've tried teaching 100 different ways finally lands. Not through your words, but through the world doing what it always does, reminding us that actions have weight. And that's when the real fight began. My wife whipped her head toward me, voice sharp. "What's so funny?" I met her eyes and told her the truth. I've been trying to teach him manners since he could hold a fork. You stopped me every time. And now he's grown. And the world did what I couldn't. Let me back up. Our son, bless him, has always been a bit unfiltered at the table. Ever since he hit puberty, he's had this habit. Loud, unrelenting burping throughout every single meal. Not once in a while. Not the occasional slip-up. I'm talking about a chorus of belches from the first bite to the last. At first, we thought it was just teenage awkwardness, something his body would grow out of. So I did what any dad would do. I corrected him. Gently, at first. Then more firmly. I told him to slow down when he ate, to stop swallowing air. I explained that it wasn't just impolite, it was disgusting. I tried everything. Quiet talks, stern reminders, embarrassment, even modeling proper behavior at the table. But I wasn't alone at that table. Every time I said something, my wife would cut me off, defend him, tell me I was being too harsh. "That's just the way he is," she'd say. "He can't help it." Except he could help it. I saw it. Whenever I pressed hard enough, when the situation truly called for it, he'd tighten up and manage to get through a meal without a single burp. It was never about biology. It was always about choice. But she wouldn't see that. Or maybe she didn't want to. Maybe she thought protecting him was love. And so it went. Day after day. Year after year. Him burping. Me correcting. Her defending. Until he became a man. At least on paper. And then came the dinner. It was his first time meeting his girlfriend's parents. They live out of town, so the occasion was special. They dressed up, reserved a spot at a high-end restaurant. A quiet place, white tablecloths, low lighting, servers who fold your napkin when you get up. He should have known better. He did know better, but what did he do? He sat there, next to the woman he claims to care about, across from two people who probably had high hopes for him, and burped through the entire meal. Not a slip-up, not one nervous accident, but a symphony of gas and disregard. He told my wife the whole story, said his girlfriend chewed him out after, told him he embarrassed her, said he behaved like a child in front of the two people who matter most to her. He said she was furious, that she said she couldn't believe he would be so disrespectful, that he made her look like a fool. He even admitted she asked him if he thought anyone at that restaurant appreciated being subjected to his behavior. And he cried. A grown man, crying. Not because he didn't know better, but because someone finally held him accountable. So yes, I laughed. Because I had tried, dozens, maybe hundreds of times, to teach him this. And my wife, his mother, fought me at every step. And now Now they were both angry with me, not for raising a rude man, not for setting him up to fail, but for not showing compassion when the world finally handed him the lesson they refused to let him learn. They said his girlfriend overreacted, that she shouldn't have been so harsh, that I was an asshole for being amused. But let's be honest here. What else was going to happen? Did they think people in the real world would coo and coddle him the way she did? That when he sat at a restaurant with other adults and treated the dinner table like a locker room, people would just smile and nod? That night, my son didn't just burp through a meal. He shattered the illusion that had been built around him, that he could carry his worst habits into every room and still be loved, respected, welcomed. It was a wake-up call. But the problem is, they're still pressing snooze. I'm not proud that I laughed. I'm not saying it was noble, but in that moment, all I could think about was how many dinners I'd sat through, clenching my teeth, trying to hold this boy accountable and being shut down. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, he's your son. He was humiliated. How could you laugh? I hear you. And believe me, I love that boy with all my heart. But love doesn't mean shielding someone from consequences. Sometimes, love is letting the world slap them in the face so they finally wake up. My son is not a bad person. He's not malicious. He just never had to face the mirror. And when he finally did, when his girlfriend became that mirror, he didn't like what he saw. And what about her? That young woman showed more strength, more dignity, and more honesty in one evening than we've managed to show him in years. She refused to let him coast. She refused to let his bad habits become her burden. She spoke up, and for that, they called her dramatic. But she wasn't. She was right, and I hope to God he realizes that before she walks away for good. Because let's be real, how many more chances will he get? How many more people will sit across from him, expecting a partner, and instead get that? So, am I the asshole? For laughing? For saying I told you so without even having to say it? For believing that sometimes a hard lesson is the only lesson that sticks? Maybe. But if that's what it takes for him to change, I'll wear it. Because if love only means comfort, then what do we call the truth? The story isn't really about burping. It's about the lies we tell in the name of love, the excuses we make, the truths we bury, the habits we normalize. Because it's easier to defend someone than it is to confront them. But the world doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't care what your parents let you get away with. Out there, at the dinner tables of strangers, in relationships, at work, in life, your habits follow you, and people will judge you by them. That's not cruelty. That's reality. And the people who try to teach us better, they're not enemies. They're the ones who care enough to say, you can be more than this. You can do better, and you're worth that effort. To every parent listening right now, are you raising someone who can thrive in the world, or someone who only survives in your house? To every son or daughter who still thinks their worst habits are just who they are, ask yourself, if someone loved you enough to be honest, would you listen? And to everyone who's ever had to learn a lesson the hard way, was it worth it? Drop your thoughts below. And hey, if you've ever had a moment where the world gave you the reality check your family didn't, we want to hear about it. Until next time, this is AITA Story Vault, where the truth always finds a seat at the table.